Regrets can either make you level up or it can haunt you for an extended period of time. Are you someone that's still living with a regret, maybe from a couple of months ago, a couple of years ago, and who knows, depending on how old you are, a couple of decades ago? That's not pretty. In the communication skills world, you'll soon start to see that there's a lot of crossovers with the emotional intelligence world. Just one example. Imagine that one day you're having an amazing conversation with this high-end business client. Everything's going well. You're telling all your jokes. The person's laughing. They're telling you jokes. You're laughing. The conversation is going smoothly. You're about to close this big business deal. But right before everything's about to conclude, you make a statement that is suspect. The other person perceives it as rude. And just like that, before the deal was about to be closed, you blew your opportunity. This happened 5 years ago, and to this day, it still haunts you. You're still living with that regret. You've closed many other business deals since then, but a part of you is still thinking, that one moment, if I just didn't make that rude comment, I could have closed that deal. Due to the negativity bias of the human brain, we focus more on the negatives over the positives. Studies have shown that for every negative thing that you hear, you need to hear at least 3 positive things to equal that out. I don't know how accurate that study is, but it makes sense. I'm going to go with my gut on this one. Today's episode, I want to share a moment where I was regretful of a big moment in my speaking journey and what I was able to learn from that moment. By understanding the lesson that I was able to learn, hopefully you're able to also understand how to deal with regrets. And spoiler alert, this episode is not going to have a complex solution to regrets. It's going to be pretty simple. It's going to be so simple to a point where you're going to think, that's it? That's all you have to do? No, my friend, that's not all you have to do. Because even though it sounds simple in theory, it's difficult in practice. And some people spend years and years and years understanding how to practice it. Hopefully today's episode helps you out. Before I begin, make sure you drop a like for me right on below because each like helps these videos spread. Now with that being said, I want to tell you a story about one of my first ever speech competitions for Toastmasters. This was at a point where I had given multiple speeches. I had finally overcome the dreaded speech anxiety. And I was starting to build a reputation in my Toastmasters as someone who was funny. Well, luckily, there was a speech competition that was coming up known as the Humor Toastmasters Competition. And my club decided that it would be smart of me to volunteer. Of course, guys, I'll volunteer. I already knew what my speech was going to be about, and a part of me, I felt confident, but not too confident, because whenever you're feeling too confident, you underprepare. I felt confident, but I still felt tension. Enough tension that I was going to put in a lot of work to make sure that I got that first place trophy. I practiced for weeks. Day in and day out, I was just going through my speech. I was recording myself. I was rehearsing it. I was getting other people to listen to it, give me feedback so I can improve. And as multiple weeks went on by, finally, the big speech competition day finally arrived. I'm going to kill it. I put in the work. Speaker by speaker, we're going up. I was the third one up. By the time that my moment came, I felt nerves right beforehand, but I practiced for these nerves. I was ready. I started my speech. The audience was engaged. I tell my jokes. The audience laughs. I finish my speech, and the audience gives me a standing ovation. I was the only one that had gotten a standing ovation up until that point. I knew for sure that I was going to win this. By the time that the competition was done, the judges were evaluating their favorite speakers, and the host got up on stage and now he's listing out the top 3 winners. There were a total of 7 speakers or so. He names the 3rd place winner, whose name was Tim. I had a feeling that Tim was going to get 3rd place. He names the 2nd place winner, whose name is Jim. Jim got 2nd place? I thought Jim could have gotten 1st place. Since he didn't get 1st place, I know damn well I got 1st place. I know this for sure. And finally, the 1st place winner is about to be announced. I'm ready. Now, I already got my preparation speech planned out, ready to go. And the 1st place winner, Matt. Matt? Matt got 1st place? I didn't even get top 3? You gotta be kidding me. I put in all this work for no fucking reason at all? Are you kidding me? Afterwards, a lot of us, we went out to eat, and there were just different people coming up to me saying, "Yo, Armani, I can't believe that you didn't even rank. I mean, your speech was terrific. How didn't you at least get 3rd or 2nd place? I mean, you should have gotten 1st, but not even 2nd or 3rd? I don't know, something doesn't feel right." Well, eventually, as I'm going through the night, there's a point where one of the girls comes up to me, and this is a friend of mine. She was the timer for this competition. She's like, "Armani, you know you were supposed to win 1st place, right?" I was? "Yeah, man, you actually did win 1st place, but you got disqualified because you went over the time limit." "I did? By how much?" "Oh, you went over by a 2nd. A 2nd? You're telling me I got disqualified for this speech competition because I went over by a 2nd? Man, get out of here." And she's like, no, Armani, I was a timer, so I saw that you went over by a 2nd, so I let the judges know. And that's what got me even more livid. This is one of my friends. Just a 2nd? You're gonna let the judges know? You can't have my back? 1 freaking 2nd. 1 Mississippi. That's all it took for me to undo 3 weeks of hard work, preparation, fine-tuning the speech. And it's not only that. When you are getting ready for a speech competition, you're dealing with a lot of tough emotions as well that you have to overcome. All that work was undone just for a 2nd. I was livid. And I ended up leaving that event. And for the next few weeks, I just couldn't even think about doing another speech competition again. Afterwards, a few months went on by. I ended up giving more speeches. But anytime these speech competitions would come up, I would say, nah, I think I'm good. I still couldn't get over that regret of going over by just a 2nd. Dang, man. Well, long story short, months went on by, and I would say last year, around February or so, I ended up participating in another speech competition. I ended up winning club, and I ended up going to the next level as well. And at this point, a part of me still felt the pain over the 1 second rule. But at this point, one of the things that I noticed more to do was not go over the damn time limit, finish ahead of time. And simply by having that intention, I was able to fix another big quirk. Over talking. Simplify the speech more, Armani. Make sure the whole issue with the 2nd, you don't even give that a shot for this speech competition. And as I progressed further, I was able to stack up more trophies for last year's speech competition. So ultimately, to this day, I still feel certain regrets over going over by that 1 second. My mind, with the negativity bias, still goes back to that one speech competition. But one of the main things that I've been able to learn is that you're going to have regrets. None of us have all the answers. If I knew that I was going to go over by a 2nd, then I would have prepared accordingly. But that version of me just had no clue a problem like that was going to happen. No clue at all. So you just want to ask yourself, what is it that you're regretting? How long have you been regretting it? Did you know back then what you know now? Because when you do know something and you still make the mistake, it hurts. But each time, you're hopefully becoming more refined. Everything regarding the narrative changed once I was able to learn I can't do anything about this. The regret is done, it's over with. But even though it physically is done, mentally and emotionally, I wasn't able to get over it until I was able to spot the lesson. And the lesson was, Armani, finish your points quicker. That lesson was internalized by me. I've heard it before from speech mentors and all that stuff. Armani, you gotta make sure you're speaking simplified. But when it happened to me firsthand, I was able to notice these mofos are right. I better be speaking quicker. I better be speaking more simplified. So the solution, it's pretty simple if you think about it. Just learn from the regret to overcome the regret. Find the silver lining behind what it is that caused you the trauma in the first place, mentally and emotionally. And once you're able to do that, that's when you're low-key happy that that moment occurred. That's how you know you're getting over a regret, where you wouldn't undo anything. If you were to come up to me and you said, Armani, I can give you a timer, you could go back and you could undo that mistake. Would you? And if you can confidently say no, which I personally would, I would say, hell nah. I would keep it exactly the way it is. If you could have a response like that, that means you're starting to get over the regret. If you don't have a response like that, that means you just didn't find the silver lining yet. Keep looking. Because in the communication skills world, there's going to be plenty of moments where you're thinking, oh, I should have done this. I should have said that. I shouldn't have offended this person. But what you will notice is that there is no rewind button. And there is no remote controller for your life. So all that you can do is you can learn from these regrets. Learn from it. And these regrets will eventually turn into stories that you could share with others in the future, sort of like how I'm sharing this story today. If today's episode helped you, make sure you drop a like for me right on below and you share this video on your social media of choice. Thank you for joining the ArmaniTalks YouTube channel, and I'll catch you on the next episode.